Whispers Around the World, a Heal Our World book from SufferingWell. Chapter 25, New Friendships and Funny Moments. By now, the How group had settled into their weekly Zoom routine, each person bringing something unique to the table. They were learning not only about the countries they prayed for, but also about each other. Laughter, inside jokes, and heartfelt conversations filled their meetings, building a sense of family that felt as real as if they were sitting together in the same room. Just then, the screen shifted as Patricia and Audrey leaned in together, laughing as they tried to untangle another craft project from Abby's paws. The fluffy black and white cat had once again claimed their workspace, this time batting around a small angel ornament. "Abby, I swear you have a talent for finding the exact thing you shouldn't be playing with," Patricia sighed, reaching to retrieve the ornament. Audrey, watching the chaos, turned to the group with a smile. "She just wants to be part of the fun. I think she has a calling as our official craft inspector." The group erupted into laughter, and even Ruth found herself laughing alone, her eyes crinkling with joy. The lightheartedness was contagious, and Yuri felt joy spread through her as she watched them, grateful for the friendships that were blossoming. As they settled into their Zoom meeting, Ronald's camera jolted wildly for a moment before stabilizing. "Sorry, folks," Ronald said with a chuckle. "Penny just knocked over my laptop." The next thing everyone saw was Penny's large nose pressed up against the camera, snuffling loudly as if she was inspecting each person. "Well, looks like she's decided to say hi," Ronald added, as the group laughed at the unexpected close-up of Penny's curious face. The meeting continued, and they each shared updates on their countries, finding moments of connection and inspiration. Donna spoke up. "I thought I'd start sharing some things I learned about Myanmar. It's a country with such a rich cultural tapestry, shaped by hundreds of ethnic groups and traditions. The Burmese are the largest group, but there are dozens of others, each with its own language and customs. What surprised me is how deeply Buddhist teachings have influenced daily life there. Compassion, kindness, and respect are deeply valued, even under challenging circumstances. It's amazing to see how people still hold onto their values despite everything." Rhonda nodded. "What a lovely thing to be able to see in a country." Toward the end, Patty spoke up, a thoughtful look on her face. "I've been thinking about something," she said, glancing at the group. "Would anyone be interested in meeting up in person sometime? I know we're scattered, but it could be nice to have a little retreat, even if it's just for the weekend." The suggestion was met with murmurs of interest, each person considering the possibility. Paulette nodded, her eyes lighting up. "I'd love that. There's something about being together that feels different from a screen. It would be wonderful to pray in person." Ken scratched his chin, grinning. "You know, I'd be up for it. I'm always ready for a road trip, and I can bring my cereal boxes. They're travel-sized." Ronald chuckled, shaking his head. "I never thought I'd be planning a weekend retreat at my age, but it sounds like a lovely idea." Yuri smiled, feeling a swell of hope. "Let's think about it then. We can talk more about logistics, but if we're all interested, I'd be happy to help organize something. It could be a time of fellowship, prayer, and maybe a few laughs." They all agreed to think it over, the excitement palpable even through the screen. As they wrapped up the meeting, Yuri led them in a prayer, asking for guidance on their plans and thanking God for the blessings of friendship and faith. When the call ended, Ruth stayed on a moment longer, her face thoughtful. "Yuri, I just wanted to say thank you. This group, it's a gift. I don't get to see my family often, and being here feels like a little piece of home." Yuri nodded, her heart full. "We're glad to have you, Ruth. You bring a beautiful spirit to our group. I think we're all finding a new kind of family here." Ruth smiled, logging off with a wave, and Yuri sat back, savoring the quiet joy that lingered in the room. She could feel it, the way their prayers and laughter were binding them together, creating something sacred and lasting. As she closed her laptop, she whispered a prayer of thanks, knowing that this journey was only beginning and that the bonds they were building would carry them forward one step at a time. One afternoon, Ronald noticed Donna sitting alone on a bench in the mobile home park, looking thoughtful and somewhat anxious. He sat down beside her, his presence calm and reassuring. "Everything all right, Donna?" She glanced over, managing a small smile. "Oh, Ronald, I've just been feeling a bit overwhelmed. I love helping with the angel kits and writing, but sometimes I wonder if I'm really making a difference." Ronald nodded, letting her words settle. "I think it's natural to wonder that," he said, reassuring her. "But you're bringing joy to people, and I can see how much heart you put into it. It shows in every letter and every angel. Sometimes it just takes time to see the impact we're making." He smiled at her comfortably. "And sometimes we won't even know it until Jesus tells us in heaven." Donna took a deep breath, her face softening. "Thank you, Ronald. That means a lot. I guess I needed to hear that today. And I need to have faith that if God's leading me to do something, He will make it work out." He gave her a satisfied smile, feeling glad he'd been able to offer her a bit of comfort. As they continued to talk, Ronald felt a renewed sense of purpose, grateful for the chance to be there for his friends when they needed a listening ear or a helping hand. The chapel was silent except for the hushed hum of the air conditioning, casting a soft glow on the monstrance where the Eucharist rested. Ruth sat alone in the front pew, her eyes fixed on the Blessed Sacrament, her heart swelling with quiet joy. She loved these moments, these hours spent in the presence of Jesus, where the outside world seemed to fall away, leaving only the two of them. She took a deep breath, letting her heart settle. "Lord, it's just you and me," she whispered, a small smile lifting the corners of her mouth. She felt a warmth fill her chest, a reassurance that Jesus was truly with her, his love as real and close as the air she breathed. She had come here many times with worries and burdens, and each time she left lighter, filled with a peace that words couldn't capture. As she sat, Ruth found herself sinking deeper into that peace, her breath slowing as she allowed Jesus to speak to her heart. She could feel her love for him growing, stretching beyond the walls of the chapel, filling her whole being. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Jesus, for drawing me closer, for loving me so completely. I'm yours, Lord, now and always. O sacred host, my heart's delight, in your presence all is right. The world fades, its clamor still. Here I bow to seek your will. Bread of heaven, love divine, in the silence you are mine. Not with words, but with my soul, I surrender, you make me whole. Mystery hidden, yet so near, your gentle whisper calms my fear. Jesus, light that never fades, shine through all my doubts and shades. In this moment, time stands still. You are God, my heart you fill. Grant me grace to love you more until I reach sweet heaven's shore. Amen. The minutes slipped by unnoticed as Ruth let herself simply be with him, her soul resting in his embrace. She knew that each visit was like laying another stone in the foundation of their relationship, her heart expanding with a love that she knew would last into eternity. One quiet afternoon, Beth Ann walked into the confessional, her hands trembling as she closed the door. She felt a rush of vulnerability, but also a strange peace. As she began to speak, recounting the years of doubt and bitterness, she found herself overwhelmed by a sense of release. The priest listened patiently, counseled her briefly, and when he spoke the words of absolution, Beth Ann felt tears streaming down her face. She hadn't expected to feel such relief, and in that moment she realized that God had never left her side, that it was only she who had turned away. She left the confessional with a renewed sense of hope, feeling lighter than she had in years. You know, Rhonda, the more I pray for Sri Lanka, the more I feel like I'm supposed to go there soon, Mary Ellen said, her voice both eager and a bit wistful. The two ladies were sitting on the outdoor patio of a cafe. I've even started planning what I'd need to bring, looking up flights and researching the culture. I want to respect the people there, to truly understand them. It feels so right, like God's been preparing me for this all along. Rhonda set down her cup of tea. I know you've been thinking of this for a while. What's making it so real now? It's hard to explain, Mary Ellen started. The more I've prayed for the people, the more I feel like God is nudging me to do something more tangible. I've been learning about their struggles, poverty, the aftermath of the war, even their vibrant faith despite hardships. It's like the prayers are only the beginning, and He's calling me to see it with my own eyes. That's incredible, but also a bit daunting, isn't it? What would you do there? I'm still figuring that out. I've been thinking about how I could use my painting to connect with people, maybe even teach kids or local artists. It's not just about creating art. It's about using it as a way to show God's love and build relationships. Maybe even help raise awareness for their needs back in the States. Rhonda nodded thoughtfully. You do have such a gift for connecting through your art. But what about the logistics? Flights, lodging, safety. Have you considered all of that? Mary Ellen looked her friend in the eye while she took a sip of her tea. A little. I've started looking into volunteer organizations and mission groups that work in Sri Lanka. If I go, I want to do it in a way that's meaningful and supportive, not just as a tourist. And I trust that if God is calling me, He'll provide the means and guidance. That sure does sound like Him. When Fred and I sold our house and started cruising, we felt the same way, stepping out in faith, trusting God to lead. It's scary, but it's also exciting to see Him work in ways you never imagined. Exactly, Mary Ellen smiled. I know it won't be easy, but the idea of meeting the people I've been praying for, of serving them in some small way, it feels like the next chapter in this journey of faith. You have my support, Mary Ellen, and Fred's too, I'm sure. If you need help brainstorming, planning, or even raising funds, let me know. We've been through enough adventures to know it takes a village. Thank you, Rhonda. Your encouragement means the world to me. I'm going to keep praying and researching, but I feel more certain every day that this is what God is asking of me. Then I say go for it. God doesn't call us to comfortable places. He calls us to trust Him, and I know you'll bring light wherever you go, Mary Ellen. Sri Lanka doesn't know how lucky it is yet. Mary Ellen laughed buoyantly. You're the best, Rhonda. I don't know how I lived without your friendship all these years. And you know, maybe one day you and Fred can swing by Sri Lanka on one of your cruises. I'd love to show you what God's doing there. Rhonda grinned at her friend, draining the last of her tea from the cup. Don't tempt me. You know Fred and I can't resist a good adventure. Keep me updated, okay? Mary Ellen stood to go as well. I will. Thank you for listening and for always cheering me on. They hugged. Always, my friend. That's what we're here for. Rhonda gave Mary Ellen a long look, smiled, then turned to leave. After a few steps, she waved backward over her head.